The Lenovo Smart Clock is a 4-inch smart display with the Google Assistant on board. Now there's more to the device, but there's also less to it, and I'll explain as we go through my very much requested review of the Lenovo Smart Clock. Hello automators, thanks for tuning in again. Now you know I like to take the frustration out of automation, but to be honest, this device just did not do it for me. And while I normally follow a very rigid structure here to the product reviews on Automate Your Life, ultimately this device just missed the mark for me, and I'm going to tell you why. First off, this is a very small screen. I mean, I knew it was that when I bought it, but ultimately the small 4-inch size bothered me in a number of ways as I was working with the device. Unfortunately, size does matter, and in this case, 4 inches is not enough. Now, Lenovo went ahead and they realized this as they were developing the product, and so they modified the interface in a number of different ways to kind of push attention away from that fact. But unfortunately, that creates another problem for me entirely. What you get when you look at the device is really the time. Now, there is a clock where you can get the weather, but there's only one of those, and that's about all you get. You can swipe to go ahead and see your alarm information, some information on the music, and be able to control music playing through the speaker, and you can see some of your calendar events for that day. But after that, there's really nothing else that comes up on screen. Play the latest video from Automate Your Life on YouTube.
Alright, playing the latest video from Automate Your Life from YouTube on bedroom display.
Whoa. When I ask for YouTube videos, it actually tells me it's going to play on a different device, despite it never having been set that way. It also, whenever I ask for visual information from search results, I'm not getting them here on this device. Basically, it won't show me anything visually except the little Google Assistant 4 colors on it when I'm asking it a question.
I heard, show me a picture of Scarlett Johansson. Sorry, I can't show you pictures.
In the end, it's just not a visual device, and it feels much more like a Google Home Mini or a Google Home Standard. So fine then, let's move on. It's not a smart display, and I probably shouldn't have expected it to be on the level of this. So, where did they put all this extra money for an $80 device into? Well, let's look at the speaker. The 2 speakers on board here are serviceable at the lower volumes. It really sounds a lot like a Google Home Mini, and it's very clear ultimately as you listen to it, if not a little bit tinny or high-end focused. Now, once you move up through volume levels and kind of intensity in music, there starts to be a lot of distortion on this device. It just does not sound good to me. Ultimately, it's just not a good enough speaker for the price. And the funny thing is, Lenovo realized this again as they were developing the device. And so when you ask it to play music, it tells me, or it asks me, hey, do you want to play it on the better speaker sitting over here? Literally every time it asks me if I'd like to move music to a Google Nest Hub or a different speaker. The control interface, the visual touch control interface here, I'm sorry, it's bad. It's very bad. I don't have the fattest fingers on the planet, and I'm getting mistaps and misswipes all over the place. I'll swipe for a menu to try and get something to come up, and I'll get a different one. I'm swiping from the left and I'm getting the top menu, or I'm swiping from the bottom and I'm getting the left menu. It's just not good. And this would be okay if I had bought a $50, or what's on sale usually for $25, a Google Home Mini. But ultimately, I bought something with a visual and a tactile control interface here, and it's just not working. What's worse is the alarm interface. When I'm tapping the device to snooze, ultimately it's not working every time for me. I just am struggling with this. So I'm hitting it harder and harder and harder, and eventually I think I'm going to smack the thing right off the table. So it's a little bit frustrating here as I go through and try and use this device with my hand. There's a nap function on here that defaults to 20 minutes. I don't know why it defaults to 20 minutes. I mean, who takes a 20-minute nap? And who uses that as their baseline if they're taking a nap? I don't know. It doesn't really matter because you can set a timer that will go off in 40 minutes by your voice. But it just feels like someone at Lenovo had figured out that they weren't hitting the right price point here, and they're adding functions as they go to try and make this something acceptable at this price point. So let's talk about a few of the things that I did like. There are some redeeming qualities about this device. First off, the design is very nice. It's a small form factor, and as long as you like gray, you're going to like the look of this device. Ultimately, they did a pretty good job with keeping it small, compact, and not taking over your whole bedside table. I also like the clock faces that I can choose, and it's very easy to choose them by holding your finger on the screen here. So although there's only one with weather, I like the clock faces or the additional clock faces I get. They did a reasonable job adjusting the visual components or the interface here. Again, I'm having those tap issues, but ultimately they did try to trend this much more to becoming a smart clock. The same can be said for things like music, where they're trying to say, hey, you know what, the speaker's not that great. Play it on this device over here. So they did try and really customize the situation or customize the device enough that it becomes a smart clock. Google Assistant also helps the display behave like a better alarm clock or a better bedside clock because of things like downtime, filters, and of course the dimming capabilities here on the display as well. So there are some additional Google Assistant functions that help this behave better. It can still display things like your Nest cams, and that functionality should extend as the Works with Google Assistant program comes out more and more. One other great feature, and I think this was a real touch from Lenovo, they do tend to do things like this. There's a USB port on the back of this thing, and that will allow you to charge a smartphone. So really good thoughts overall on design, I think, in a lot of cases. But here's the ultimate problem. It's an $80 US device, and it does nothing really well. There's nothing here to really grab onto and say, it's unbelievable at this. It's $80, and it has a less capable voice assistant now because of some of the drawbacks of such a small form factor here than a Google Nest Hub. So while you might have to justify that jump in price, these go on sale all the time, so wait for a sale and get this. And the Amazon Echo Show 5 sitting over here is $90 US. So there's a direct comparison in terms of pricing between these two devices, but in terms of capabilities, there's no comparison. And you know what, even as an alarm clock, both of these function just as well as this. There's nothing really I'm getting extra over here. So why would I make this decision versus either one of these two? I can't come up with a reason. And so sadly, I think this is the first time I'll return a device after I've reviewed it. That's kind of like, that's breaking rules here, but I can't find a real good use for it with these two in the house. And I'm going to have to, maybe use it this way. Sorry folks, I just dislike this product that much. With these two products sitting in the market, I just don't see a reason to go out and spend $80 US on this device. Dropping it to around $50 all the time, very close to a Google Home Mini, well, that's a different discussion that I'm happy to have at that point. But for right now, go buy one of these. We have done full reviews on both of these products and can show you all the nuances that will upgrade you from this to these devices here on Automate Your Life. So go watch one of those on the product you're most interested in. And until next time, don't hate, I'll do it for you. Automate.